It is the time for our appointed meeting, and I'd like to remind the commissioners to go ahead and turn on your microphones and be sure to speak into the microphones when you make your discussions. Let's call the Budget Committee meeting to order. Do we have any visitors wishing to address the committee?
My name is Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. I just provided Chairman DeBoard with a copy of the only BEP formula that I have been able to obtain from the school system yet. Usually they get an April, which is what this is. They get an updated May and frequently a June one. So far, they only have April. So I'm going to pass these around.
Jeff, is her mic on? Okay. Maybe she and I'll have to straighten ears.
I noticed Dr. Curry, when he got off the side, he wouldn't pick up on it. You know what I'm saying? When Dr. Curry stood beside the microphone, couldn't hear. $50,000 didn't hear.
And I'm not going to go through this BEP at this time. I hope you'll take your time.
Is your mic turned on?
I have no idea. $50,000, surely.
Yell at me, I'm used to
Whether
it.
it works or not, I don't know.
I can hear you.
But I provide it so that you may look at it and perhaps, you know, a more informative discussion would be possible at a later time, perhaps Monday. The other thing I'd like to mention, can you not hear anything?
It's your hearing aid, man. Turn it up.
Some of us were born deaf.
Anyway, read that.
I got one of these hands.
The other thing I would like to mention is, I asked Trish, and she kindly gave me a copy of what you were provided with tonight, just a few minutes before the meeting, as far as I know. And this gets back to what I've mentioned before, frequently. And perhaps you don't care, and that's fine. That's fine. If you don't care that the public doesn't know what you're getting ready to do tonight, and that you didn't know, unless perhaps you've got some inside information that you didn't know until you came here, then that's on you. But I, as a citizen, this should have been on the website. You shouldn't even vote on anything tonight. It gets back to you just got it. The public hasn't seen it. It's not on your website. There's no way for the public to access it. I wouldn't have it except for being bold enough to go and ask for it. And as far as I know, this was the only one left that Ms. Bowman had. So I ask that you consider tabling or not making any motion to approve anything tonight. You've got more meetings. And I realize you don't already have another budget meeting set up, but you could certainly do that on a short notice or as a special called meeting, whatever you need to do. But I find it very offensive to think that anyone would vote on something this significant with moving tax pennies around, with a BEP that you were not aware of. Now, I know you were told what the BEP increase was. Yes, that's in the school budget, but they don't show you how it all comes up, how the state decides what money to give to the school system. And probably the most interesting thing about the BEP is it's just a formula. It's like me saying, my child needs $2 a day for lunch, so I give them $10. I don't know if they spend it on lunch or not. And that's what the BEP is. The state says, you know, if you have so many teachers, or we think you should have so many teachers, so many principals, superintendent, maintenance of your building, cafeteria workers, and we are going to give you this money. And of course, they expect you would use it on that. But the school board does not have to use it on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the committee? Seeing none. In old business, we have none. In item 4, new business, budget committee presentation. Mayor Britton?
Tonight, what are the objectives of the meeting are for the committee to make a recommendation to the full commission on the budget for each of the funds that have to be budgeted. And so that's what's before you in the presentation. We'll start with the general fund, and estimated that we will finish this year, just to update you on the estimates, that's what this is for, and then to show you what the appropriation would be for next year after we put everything together and you have a draft 2 in your notebook, which includes all the changes that have been made. But we estimate we'll finish this year that we're in today with adding $2.8 million to fund balance. It's a little less than what we had estimated before, and that's because we factored in, with the approval of buying the Hyde property, we factored in closing that purchase this month. So it'd be this fiscal year. So we use, you'll have a budget amendment in Monday, and so we'll use fund balance to buy the Hyde property. And so the estimated surplus is reduced by that amount. And then our budget deficit for next year is higher than what we had discussed before, and that we factored in and added to the budget document the purchase of the Anderson property, and that'll be closed next year, next fiscal year. So those are two factors why those numbers have changed. And then you'll see the fund balance that will end next fiscal year with $8.86 million in fund balance. So in summary, we'll start the coming year with about $9.5 million in fund balance, revenues of $22,226,148, appropriations $22,886,812, and so we would finish the year with $8,855,606 with in fund balance for next year. And Mr. Chairman, I would ask for a motion to approve the appropriation.
I'll make that motion.
We got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second.
Question. You've got less, next year we'll have less at the end of the year than we had this year.
Correct. But now that's, Wayne, that's estimated. Now, the last at least one out of the last 3 years, we've estimated we would have less, and we've ended up with more. And that's because we estimate low on revenues and high on expenditures. We don't spend every penny that you appropriate.
But we had more surplus at the end of this year than we've had in a long time.
Ever.
We had more surplus, but we end up shorter. This 657, what was that 657? What's that budget deficit? Is that the garbage trucks or?
No, garbage trucks are paid out of the garbage fund.
Okay.
All right. Let's see, the COLA increase is part of that. The purchase of the Anderson property is part of that, which is a first-time or one-time purchase. Those are two large chunks of it.
Do you think we don't need to wait on next Wednesday so we know how much money we're gonna be getting from federal government and what we can do with it before we jump in here and approve all this?
Not for general operations, no. Because what that money will be, what they'll approve is for special COVID-related expenditures. One time, they have expressed that it be used for one-time expenses and capital-type items and not reoccurring expenses. And so, but you guys will hear that guidance next week.
Can't use it for paying interest payments and stuff like that.
No. You can't
We-
make a
But
payment.
we don't know for sure what we can use it for till.
We know, there is some guidance from the federal government, from the Treasury, like infrastructure is allowed, meaning water, sewer, broadband, those types of expenses are allowed. Any COVID-related, if we had, let's say we had to purchase PPE in large amounts, we could do that. We've already put up the plexiglass shields at the service counters. We've already done that. That would qualify. There's also some monetary payments that can be made to quote-unquote essential employees. That's allowed. Let's see. There's about 3 areas that the federal government has told us that are allowed in there, but there's a lot of gray area. And so that's
We don't know yet if we can use it for building.
correct.
We don't know if the school can use it for building either.
Correct.
I was reading in the paper about the school's gonna put up $5 million and wanting, this about the new school, which is, till I read it in the paper, I didn't even know we was gonna have a new school.
Well, he's making a presentation Monday night to the commission.
I mean, somebody knew it. Howard knew it. Why didn't I know it?
You mentioned it the other day.
Huh?
You mentioned it up there the other day.
He didn't throw no figures out there, Tim.
He mentioned the 5 million.
Yeah.
And where the money's gonna come from, I don't know. To me, it seemed like a lot of loose ends on it.
Well, there's nothing in concrete about the new school.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of loose ends.
Any further discussion?
All the concrete.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Ah,
Roll call.
Jeff Baker,
I guess it would be a temporary no or abstain. I want to look at this a little bit more before I vote on it, please.
okay, so abstain or?
You said a temporary no or abstain, which one? Straight-
Abstain, that's what I
Abstain.
Or temporary no, whatever you think's best.
Eileen Arnwine,
Yes.
Chris Cutshaw,
Yes.
Randy DeBoard,
Yes.
Tim Goins,
Aye.
Bobby Hahn,
Aye.
Tim Horner,
yes.
Wayne Neesmith,
No.
Howard Shipley,
Yes.
Jim Stepp,
Yes.
Taylor Ward. 2 no, 1 abstain.
You kinda lost me.
Passes.
I lost myself.
Item 4B, Resolution 2109, joint resolution of Hamlin County, Tennessee, and Hamlin County Commission and Hamlin County Board of Education, a joint resolution to approve a non-recurring one-time appropriation for fiscal year 2022 to fund non-recurring technology equipment. Mayor Britton?
We can address that. We still got to go through the rest of the funds.
Okay.
But we can address that now if you want, because the next fund I was going to bring up is the school. The school, and you have in the presentation the maintenance of effort that was approved by the committee let's see, what today's Thursday? It was on Tuesday. We're adding $200,000 to maintenance of effort, and then the $307,841 non-recurring. And So we have the resolution, if you want to adopt the resolution now or recommend it to the full commission, it'll be on the agenda on the 24th. But the resolution is the joint resolution the county commission and the school board would approve to appropriate the $307,841 as non-recurring.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make that motion that we do that.
Got a motion? Second, Mr. Cutshaw. Any discussion?
Question. I can see the 307,000, so that's what his shortfall was, but he's gonna gain an additional 200,000 for maintenance of effort. I can't see that with all the money they're getting. I'll have to go against the maintenance of effort. That, whether it's forever, as long as we're in business, then all these maintenance of efforts are. Although if the money don't come in, he doesn't get it.
Right.
But how often does that happen? I can't never remember it.
It happened back in the Great Recession, back in 08,
2008, okay.
09, back in there.
With the budget they got, when we're giving him what he says his shortfall was, and I didn't hear him ask for a $200,000 maintenance of effort.
The $307,000 shortfall factored in the $200,000. It was on top of the amount of money you appropriated last year.
Well, he got his maintenance of effort last year.
Yes.
In fact, he got $630,000 last year. And he asked for $352,000, and Howard made the motion and give him $630,000 as a maintenance of effort. So that was in last year's budget.
I don't think he got maintenance of effort with that last year. We did not increase maintenance of effort, I don't
I
think.
can't hear you.
I thought it was flat last year.
Look, Wayne, look at the chart in front of you. There was no maintenance of effort increase last year.
Zero.
Howard's motion last year, and I.
That was for a
keep all this
one-time
stuff. It goes
expenditure.
back, did you not, Howard, make it that it was as maintenance of effort to $630,000?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
I do.
It's right there, it shows it 27,156.
Hey, Wayne?
27,156.
Last year, Howard made the motion. They took that as a one-time expenditure and bought school buses last year. It did not increase maintenance of effort last year. At the bottom line, if you look at what's on the screen right now, those numbers did not change from one year to the next. From 2019, 2020 to 2020 and 21, it's the same maintenance of effort.
How did that $630,000
That
get
was a
changed?
one-time expenditure that we
buses.
voted on,
Yeah, I believe I remember.
not just one time.
As a maintenance of effort.
No, sir, not maintenance of effort.
Well, isn't maintenance of effort for the
I
bus?
don't think we've had maintenance of effort for the past 2 years, have we?
No, sir.
Flat.
Yeah. If we did that as a 200 and we voted not to put it into the maintenance of effort as a one-time fee,
It's a one-time.
Yeah.
That's a
and
lot of.
non-recurring one-time fee, and it did the same last year. And then this is the first time we've had an increase in the maintenance of effort in 3 years, if my memory is correct.
Show up on the MOE.
All right, we got a motion and we've got a second. Do we have any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Jeff Baker,
Yes.
Eileen Ardoin,
Yes.
Chris Cutshaw,
Aye.
Randy DeBoer,
Yes.
Tim Goins,
Aye.
Bobby Hahn,
Aye.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Wayne Neesmith,
No?
Howard Shipley,
Yes.
Jim Stepp,
Yes.
Taylor Ward,
No.
2 no. 9 yes, motion passes.
Okay, the next is the debt service fund, and following the vote last week, or Tuesday, rather, sorry, there have been some changes in the debt service fund for you to consider. As far as what's in the budget is we anticipate issuing $30 million in debt for the Justice Center project during the next fiscal year. The moving of the 9 cents from the property tax rate from general purpose schools to debt service, that's factored in the revenue in this summary. Then the revenue stream then is in place to pay for the Justice Center and an elementary school project. And then the fund balance would grow next year by $3.6 million. So we anticipate finishing this year with $9.3 million in fund balance in debt service, preparing for the issuance of debt for the Justice Center. We estimate revenues with the 9 cent move of being $8.55 million. Appropriation is estimated at $4.89 million, with an estimated fund balance this time next year at $12.9 million. And, Mr. Chairman, I request a motion to approve the appropriation.
We have a motion to approve appropriations.
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, there's a couple of questions I do have. The 9 cent move. I mean, we discussed this the other night. Of course, we won't final vote until it goes to the full commission. We've got my question is, what if the purpose that we're moving that money, it doesn't come to fruition? Does it hurt anything?
Then you can move the tax rate to somewhere else that you want to use the fund for.
Okay.
Or
So,
you, yeah. I mean, let's say that an elementary school is not funded,
yes, sir.
okay? Then you take the 9 cents and you move it where you want to move it,
Okay. So
or you
we
can keep it there.
do that throughout the year and leave it in debt service?
Well, you got to wait till budget time next year.
Okay. It was just a curious question. You know, we don't know where everything's going to go. I
Right.
know it's suggested. Dr. Perry here the other night gave us a lot to chew on.
Right, right.
Thank you.
Do we have any more discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Okay, the next budget's the Highway Fund, 131. In the initial presentation, we talked about over the next, well, starting back in April probably, through next fiscal year, the Highway Department has about $1.3 million to spend on paving, and we broke that out in what's in front of you. And then in the budget proposal is a new mowing tractor that would be partially paid from the local government grant. The money would be moved into that fund. Then there's the property improvements are funded in the budget, the fencing and the LED lighting, and on the property out at the Highway Department, and then a 3% COLA for all Highway Department employees. So you start the year with 1.7 million fund balance, revenues estimated 2.9, expenditures at 3.6 million, estimated fund balance over $1 million, and that's, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask for approval of that budget.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
No.
Any discussion?
Question. New mowing machine. First I've heard about a local government grant.
The local government grant, we've gone over 2 or 3 times. And on Tuesday, you got this Tuesday.
Okay.
And then the 1st of June, you've got one like this. And the changes that were presented on Tuesday were spending $27,000 on a new fingerprint machine for the sheriff's department and reduce the amount that would go to the highway department. That was the change from the original proposal, which was to give the highway department about in the 80-something thousand dollars for capital.
Okay, how much was the local government grant?
It's in front of you. It's $547,144.
I don't see it.
Well, it's right here. You have it in the handouts you had Tuesday.
You see it?
On Tuesday.
Well, it was in the book. It's in the book. So we don't know how much it is. Let's go
It's
back and look.
540, it's 547,144.
547, I didn't hear it.
$547,144.
Mayor,
No, I'm talking about how much the tractor grant is for the tractor.
The tractor is estimated at $125,000. That's what Barry has in his.
Okay, how much is grant then, Tim? How much money we get out of the grant?
$61,864 goes to
1,800.
the highway department.
That's the question. That's what I wanted to answer for.
Bill,
Not on there anywhere.
I understand that, the LED lighting out there by the, over 160 that bridge there. What fencing are we talking about?
All right, now this is on the property. This LED lighting is in the shop area
Oh, okay.
of the highway department building.
Oh, and that's where
what
they were
that-
talking about that, okay.
And the fencing is, he's fencing more of the property.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
That-
I
that's what
remember.
that is.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Okay, next fund is the garbage fund,
What kind
one,
of tractor is that?
116.
Kubota?
The budget deficit is less than we first estimated at the start of the budget process because you've approved using the local government grant, or if it's permissible, some of the federal American Rescue money to buy the two garbage trucks that the Barry has requested. So we would, you see on the slide, some increases in expenditures that we factored into the budget, which was the garbage trucks, increase in disposal fees, diesel fuel and gasoline increases, the property improvements, and the COLA for employees. So we anticipate that we'll end next fiscal year with a fund balance of $2.1 million.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second? Any discussion?
Question. That 40,000, does that include the gutters that he wanted?
I don't know. What I heard him talk about was fencing and LED lighting.
Well, he brought up gutters. He said his gutters were bad. So he wanted to put new gutters in, LED fencing down next to Frank Matthews' place, and lights.
Okay.
I just wonder how much of that was gonna be for gutters.
I think he did say it would include the guttering.
It includes the gutters.
Yeah.
Will we bid that? We'll bid the gutters.
If it's over $10,000.
Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next fund is the Drug Control Fund. This is a fund that there's no general tax dollars that go into the fund. There is a drug control fine that is paid to the clerk's office by offenders that goes to this fund, but mostly it's funded by seizures and in criminal cases, in criminal drug cases. And so we anticipate finishing this year with $234,000 as a balance of the fund. We don't usually add a whole lot of revenue to start a year in this fund because the unknowns about what the seizure amounts will be. It varies just depending on the status of cases. And then we have an appropriation of $131,911. Part of that is money used in undercover operations, and there is a new used automobile for the narcotics undercover officers. And we anticipate finishing next year with $141,000.
You got a motion to approve, we've got a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
And lastly is the Highway Capital Projects Fund, Fund 176. We estimate finishing this year with about $315,000 surplus. There's paving money that'll be used next year by the Highway Department. There was $500,000 that you appropriated to Capital Projects Fund for paving out of last year's local government grant. And so that money will be spent this coming year. Some of it's being spent now, but the rest of it will be spent next year, and we anticipate finishing the year with just around $26,000.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Taylor Ward. And then- Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, the last slide is just what the property tax structure will be based on if the commission approves the budget that you're recommending to them. And there's a change in the tax structure, but not a change in the total tax rate. You'll see this is what the rates will be on the inside rate and the outside rate. Property inside the city limits of Morristown pays a lower rate than property outside the city limits, and that's because property outside the city limits pays for garbage collection. So the rate will stay at 176 inside and 197 outside.
Bill, what was that last year on outside rate?
197.
That's what it's gonna be this year?
Yes.
Stay the same, yeah, okay.
That's just for information. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Items of interest, there are none, so we are adjourned.